So in this video I wanted to discuss Project Cars. I've been playing it for the last couple of weeks since launch day, and I've been enjoying it thoroughly, so I thought it was my duty, nay, my responsibility, to give you guys my thoughts on how I feel about the game, if I think you guys should pick it up, and yeah. Now, if you've read any reviews or seen any video reviews of the game, the general consensus is that it's not for everybody, and that's probably the most accurate thing that I can say that everybody has said about this game. That while I think the game is really, really good, I don't think it's going to suit every type of gamer. So hopefully this video will help you make up your mind as to whether you're the type of person who's going to enjoy this game or the type of person who's going to hate this game. To sum it up, basically, if you enjoy power sliding around corners, a pumping soundtrack, insane jumps, Project Cars is probably going to disappoint you. Now, of course, Project Cars is a sim racing game, it's not an arcade style racing game, but even certain sim racing games have sort of elements from arcade AAA titles. So, for instance, the Gran Turismo series has music and a little bit more spectacle than Project Cars has. And games, again, like Forza, not so much Forza Horizon, but the core series, Forza series, is, while being very sim, also has elements of flashiness. Obviously, you can customize your car's appearance, you can make your own custom decals, and various bits and bobs all over the vehicle. Project Cars doesn't have anything like that, so if you're interested in creating your own custom paint jobs and all that sort of stuff, again, Project Cars is going to disappoint you. What Project Cars is about, and what it really nails, is it's about mastering the track, about knowing every single corner, when to hit the apex, when to put the power down, when to brake. And it's also about mastering every nuance of your vehicle, so knowing how much power you can put down before the rear tail slides out, or what performance is going to be like in the mid-corner. Now, for me, there are three things that a racing game has to deliver in order for it to be a successful racing game. Now, this is regardless of if it's an arcade racer or a sim. First of all, it needs to have top-notch visuals. I mean, cars need to be detailed and tracks need to be interesting, and if they're based on real-world tracks, they need to be authentic as possible. The next thing that a racing game needs to nail is it needs to have distinct and powerful sounding engine noises. Gran Turismo, I am looking at you because all your cars sound like a variation of a hairdryer. And last but definitely not least, a racing game needs to have excellent handling. So again, whether that's an arcade racer or a sim, cars need to feel responsive, it needs to feel good, and it also needs to feel fun. So out of all those things, Project Cars delivers them all in spades. Something else that I really like about Project Cars is that everything is unlocked from the start. I mean, I have limited time for gaming these days, so having to play through a campaign or complete tasks like a license test to unlock vehicles and tracks really isn't that attractive to me anymore. Now, obviously, this does have a negative effect because it does eliminate the traditional sense of achievement that you might get in a racing game, where typically progress in something like a main story or a campaign would earn you better cars and more tracks. The sense of achievement, I think, comes from shaving 2/10 off your best lap time or executing the perfect passing move on the last lap of a really long race. Now, to talk a little bit about the car roster, I think the default amount of cars that it comes with is 65. If you picked up the limited edition version, you might have got an additional 5 cars, and then I do believe that there's going to be some free DLC cars coming as well. So I think the total amount of cars with all the DLC included at the moment is probably something around the 75 number. Now, this doesn't sound huge. Obviously, Gran Turismo 6, I think, has like hundreds of cars, but the roster is quite diverse, even if it is a little bit limited. There aren't too many basic road-going cars. You've got the Renault Clio, but then you've got things like the R8 as well. But most of the cars are dedicated races, so you have everything from open wheels to Le Mans type races to things like the Radical. There is the obvious gap of Ferrari and Lamborghini, but from what I understand, that will be added with DLC later on. Now, I have no idea if that's going to be paid or free, but I have a feeling it will be paid, which is annoying, but that's kind of gaming these days. Now, like I said, all the cars are really well detailed and look really nice. The damage models on them are also pretty good. I mean, not amazing, but you know, certain bits of bodywork will fly off. Vehicles kind of look battered if you've run into things during a race. And if you've got the full damage on, it will affect performance. And if you hit a barrier or something like that, wheels will fly off your car and you won't be able to drive anymore. There's a huge amount of different perspectives that you can race from. So there's the full road with absolutely no car. You've got a couple of different in-car modes. You've got the helmet mode, which is really interesting because if you choose that, the helmet will actually focus on the apex of the corner and kind of blur out the rest of the track. So if you don't like racing with that racing line aid-on, which I really don't, you can actually use the helmet cam to kind of guide you into apex of corners and when you should start braking and turning in, which I think is really cool. The audio of all the cars is awesome. They all sound really meaty and loud and noisy. I mean, even the little cars like the little Clio all convey a sense of power. And it's awesome how the car audio changes when you're in the vehicle compared to outside the vehicle. Now, in terms of options, Project Cars is absolutely bursting with options. There's a menu for absolutely everything, and you can customize the hell out of everything. So if you don't like the HUD on the screen, like where the map of the racetrack is, or the speed, or the units in which the speed is being displayed, whether that's miles per hour or kilometers, you can change all of that. Now, not only can you customize all your HUD and controls and all that sort of stuff, you can customize the weather on the track, you can customize the AI of the opponents. And in my experience so far, I found that the AI drivers are pretty good. They'll respect you if you sort of cut in on line. They don't sort of stick to the racing line and barge you out of the way. You will get tapped every now and then. Obviously, if you go into a corner a little bit hot and cut someone off and they don't have time to brake, they'll bump into you. But no one's deliberately ramming you off the track, which is quite refreshing. In terms of frame rate and performance, the game runs at 1080p 60 frames per second on PS4. I have never noticed a frame rate drop on the PS4, although I will say on graphically intensive circuits like Monaco, there is a little bit of, it's almost like screen tearing, but it's not quite as bad as screen tearing, it's like screen rolling. It's not super bad, and again, I'm hoping that it gets fixed in a patch, but overall the performance has been really impressive and it's a really great looking game. So my final thoughts on this game are, if you're really into your racing and you're really into your cars, then Project Cars is going to put a big grin on your face. Anyway, that's my thoughts on Project Cars. I hope I was able to give you a better understanding of the game so that if you haven't already purchased it and you were thinking about it, you can make an educated decision on whether it's the game for you or whether you should spend your money on something else. But yeah, that's all I've got for you in this video. I want to thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll catch you later. See ya!
About 5 minutes. You ready? We can go get in line.